Given your experience, do you look at politics differently? Do you say, you know, we spend a lot of time demonizing the other side, which put all of our supporters in the mindset of, you know what, they're not just wrong, they're evil.
Yeah, absolutely. If everything that a political adversary does is met with, you know, an attack that, oh my God, this is, you know, the worst possible thing you can imagine, this is dire, then when you face something that really is dire, like we are facing today with respect to Donald Trump and his efforts to unravel the republic, people become numb to the truth because they feel like, well, we've heard that so many times before from politicians.
War at home, war abroad. Is either one under control? The latest on the investigation. Congress passes a sweeping new anti-terrorism bill as the international hunt continues for the terrorists behind the September 11th attacks.
As an election denier has become Speaker of the House, and prominent Republicans have come to embrace election conspiracies as the route to political glory. You once used to say that nobody could challenge your conservative credentials. What if being a conservative today is defined by one thing, your support for Donald Trump?
Well, I know what conservative means, and I think that the most conservative of all conservative values is fidelity to the Constitution.
There comes a time in the history of nations when fear and complacency allow power to accumulate and liberty and privacy to suffer. That time is now, and I will not let the Patriot Act, the most unpatriotic of acts, go unchallenged. At the very least, we should debate. We should debate whether or not we are going to relinquish our rights or whether or not we are going to have a full and able debate over whether or not we can live within the Constitution or whether or not we have to go around the Constitution.
And for the source of the latest wave of bioterrorism. Congress, the White House, and the Pentagon have all been mighty busy this week. But what more do we know after a week of shifting messages concerning health, politics, and war? Today, the president signed a big new anti-terrorism bill that would expand the government's ability to track down terrorists, but at some cost. This is what the president had to say today.
If a person is a member of Congress and they've sworn an oath to defend the Constitution, can they defend the Constitution and also endorse Donald Trump?
No.
So
it's inconsistent.
They're breaking with their oath by saying they would like him to be the next president.
In my view, you know, fundamentally, there is a choice to be made. You can't both be for Donald Trump and for the Constitution. You have to choose.
This is a two-front war. It's a two-front war. And it's a war we're going to win on both fronts. But make no mistake, the best way to make sure we protect our homeland is to succeed by bringing the terrorists abroad who try to strike us to justice.
Barbara, what's in this new anti-terrorism bill that would presumably help investigators get to the bottom of all this?
Right. There's a lot in this bill.
It's a lot of people who are choosing Donald Trump.
Yeah, it is.
In the aftermath of the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, Cheney was one of only 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump. Soon after, she joined the democratically led committee to investigate the attack.
Tonight, I say this to my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible. There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain.
The bulk collection of all Americans' phone records all of the time is a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. The Second Appeals Court has ruled it illegal. The president began this program by executive order. He should immediately end it through executive order. For over a year now, he has said the program is illegal, and yet he does nothing. He says, well, Congress can get rid of the Patriot Act. Congress can get rid of the bulk collection, and yet he has the power to do it at his fingertips. He began this illegal program. The court has informed him that the program is illegal. He has every power to stop it, and yet the president does nothing.
I will work with Congress to pursue appropriate reforms to Section 215 of the Patriot Act, the program that collects telephone records. As I've said, this program is an important tool in our effort to disrupt terrorist plots, and it does not allow the government to listen to any phone calls without a warrant. But given the scale of this program, I understand the concerns of those who would worry that it could be subject to abuse. So after having a dialogue with members of Congress and civil libertarians, I believe that there are steps we can take to give the American people additional confidence that there are additional safeguards against abuse.
Attorney General John Ashcroft absolutely loves it. He said, the hour this thing is signed, I'm going to instruct law enforcement how to use these new powers. Some of them are being able to trace email messages from place to place, making it easier to surveil people for terrorist purposes, for intelligence purposes. One of the interesting things I think we're going to see that will immediately affect this investigation is the sharing of information between the intelligence gatherers, the CIA, the NSA, and other places, and the FBI. What they've done is they've lowered the wall between the two.
We know they've been spying on Carter Page and not following the FISA rules. How do we know that? Because Inspector General Horowitz has done 2 different audits, 2 different reports that he's given to us. 400 errors in 29 randomly selected FISA applications, 400 errors in 29 of them. In 4 of those 29 applications, there wasn't even a Woods file, which is the file you keep that has the underlying supporting evidence for the claims made in the application itself.
Which means, for example, as one high-level Justice Department person said yesterday, we have files. The intelligence people have files that they are ready to hand over to the criminal people. What that means is they can take that, and suddenly they have a lot of new leads.
And what's our Justice Department been doing? Not only ignoring the FISA rules, they don't even follow their own rules. We know that from a story 2 weeks ago, where in sensitive investigative matters, special cases dealing with First Amendment concerns when they're investigating religious groups, investigating candidates, and investigating government officials, or the press, 353 cases, 747 errors in those cases. Not only are they not following the FISA rules, they don't even follow their own darn rules. That's why we sent a letter asking for the internal audit. We hope that will be given to the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Chairman, so we can look at that.
She found an ally in then Speaker of the House California Democrat Nancy Pelosi.
I don't know that I had ever spoken more than a few sentences to her before she called me and asked me to be on the committee. I learned later that her staff put together for her a list of the top 10 worst things Liz Cheney has ever said about Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker? Well, you know, when she first got in and was named Speaker, I met her, and I'm very impressed by her. I think she's a very impressive person. I like her a lot. But I was surprised that she didn't do more in terms of Bush and going after Bush. It just seemed like she was going to really look to impeach Bush and get him out of office, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing.
Impeaching him?
Absolutely, for the war. For the war.
Because of the conduct of the war.
Well, he lied. He got us into the war with lies. And, I mean, look at the trouble Bill Clinton got into with something that was totally unimportant. And they tried to impeach him, which was nonsense. And yet Bush got us into this horrible war with lies, by lying, by saying they had weapons of mass destruction, by saying all sorts of things that turned out not to be true.
Cheney came to Washington in 2016, along with Donald Trump. Didn't like him, she said, but she supported his policies on issues like abortion and gun control. She voted with him more than 90% of the time.
Certainly, I think all of us in the Republican Party watched things unfold to some extent before 2020 and said, well, that's just Donald Trump. You don't have to take it seriously. I think what we saw that was different post-2020 election was the actual attempt to overturn the election and seize power.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Waters, arise?
Mr. Vice President, I rise to object to the fraudulent 25 Florida electoral votes.
Is the objection in writing and signed by a member of the House and a senator?
The objection is in writing, and I don't care that it is not signed by a member of the Senate.
The chair will advise that the rules do care,